The interstellar transit shuttle cut through the void, a sleek obsidian arrow against the infinite darkness. Inside, Ambassador Elena Rodriguez reviewed her final preparations, her fingers tracing holographic data streams that danced around her neural interface. The upcoming Galactic Council hearing was more than a diplomatic meeting. It was humanity's first true test on the cosmic stage. 19 years of diplomatic service had prepared her for this moment. Elena's background was anything but traditional. Born to a Brazilian environmental engineer and a Chinese quantum physicist, she represented the quintessential human hybrid. Adaptable, curious, and unbound by traditional limitations. Her doctoral work in synapsecology had been revolutionary, challenging established theories about interspecies communication and cultural dynamics. The shuttle's interior hummed with a subdued technological precision. External sensors mapped the approach to the Galactic Council's central station, a massive construct that defied conventional understanding of engineering. Constructed from materials unknown to human science, the station was a testament to millennia of alien technological development. Its crystalline structures shifted and realigned, responding to quantum fluctuations that human sensors could barely detect. Elena's preparation was meticulous. Thousands of hours of cultural analysis, diplomatic simulations, and psychological profiles of the primary council species filled her neural database. Each alien civilization represented a complex ecosystem of motivations, historical tensions, and unspoken power dynamics. Humanity was the newest player in a game with rules written over millions of years. Her neural interface displayed a countdown. 36 standard hours until the hearing. 36 hours to potentially reshape humanity's future among the stars. The weight of representation pressed against her consciousness. She carried the hopes of 8 billion humans, a species that had transformed from planetary inhabitants to interstellar explorers in mere decades. The shuttle's quantum drive began its final alignment sequence. External sensors revealed the Galactic Council station in full magnificence. Impossible geometries twisted against the starfield, a structure that seemed to exist simultaneously in multiple dimensional states. Navigation systems struggled to map its true form, highlighting the vast technological gulf between humanity and the elder civilizations. Elena's reflection caught her attention, a moment of human vulnerability in the midst of cosmic complexity. Dark eyes reflected determination, her features a blend of genetic heritage that spoke to humanity's greatest strength, adaptability. She was not just a diplomat. She was a living embodiment of her species' potential. The final approach began. Navigation systems chirped with increasingly complex warning signals. The Galactic Council station's defensive systems were already scanning the incoming shuttle, probing for potential threats, analyzing every microscopic detail of its approach. Humanity's first true test was about to begin. As the shuttle breached the station's outer quantum barriers, Elena Rodriguez took a deep breath. Years of training, generations of human potential, and the collective hope of an entire species rested on the next few moments. The Galactic Council chamber materialized around Elena like a living organism of crystalline complexity. Thousands of alien delegates occupied positions of deliberate architectural significance, each placement a statement of political and evolutionary hierarchy. The chamber itself seemed to breathe, quantum reactive surfaces shifting with microscopic precision, in response to the collective emotional states of its occupants. First, Speaker Krellax of the crystalline concordance rose, his translucent form refracting light into 1,000 accusatory prisms. The elder being represented a civilization that had existed for over 17 million years, a time span that made human history seem like a momentary cosmic breath. Humanity stands accused, Krellax began, his translated voice carrying a tone of clinical detachment. A species of unprecedented unpredictability, a genetic and technological anomaly that threatens the carefully maintained balance of galactic civilization. Holographic displays erupted around the chamber, painting humanity's most controversial moments in stark, unforgiving detail. Images of nuclear near misses, environmental challenges, and technological disruptions flickered like accusatory ghosts. Each projection was a carefully curated narrative designed to demonstrate humanity's fundamental instability. Military conflicts flashed across the displays, wars that had nearly consumed human civilization, technological experiments that had pushed ethical boundaries, environmental transformations that spoke of both remarkable adaptability and potential ecological destruction. The message was clear. Humans were a species too dangerous to be allowed unrestricted access to the galaxy. Alina watched the presentation with calculated calm. Where others might see chaos, she recognized a deeper pattern, the explosive creativity of a young species learning to navigate its own potential. Each seemingly destructive moment was actually a critical step in evolutionary development. The Zarkoth delegate continued, its crystalline body pulsing with rhythmic contempt. Your species demonstrates no understanding of cosmic responsibility. Technological advancement without corresponding ethical development represents an existential threat to established galactic protocols. Genetic records of human adaptation appeared, dramatic shifts in physiological and cognitive capabilities that defied traditional evolutionary models. Humanity's ability to modify itself, to transform in response to environmental challenges, represented something entirely new in the galactic ecosystem. Alina's neural interface processed the incoming data streams. She recognized the hearing for what it truly was, not just an evaluation of humanity's past, but a complex psychological assessment of the species' potential future. Each accusation was a probing mechanism designed to reveal deeper truths about human nature. The chamber's environmental systems subtly adjusted, creating micropressures designed to induce psychological stress. It was a standard diplomatic technique used by elder species to destabilize negotiation participants. Alina recognized the manipulation, her training allowing her to maintain perfect physiological control. Kralax's final statement hung in the air like a quantum weapon. Humanity represents an unpredictable variable in a carefully balanced cosmic equation. Your potential for both creation and destruction makes you a threat that cannot be ignored. In that moment, surrounded by millennia of alien judgment, Alina Rodriguez understood the true nature of the challenge. This was not just a diplomatic hearing. This was a test of humanity's right to exist among the stars. The momentary pause after the accusations hung in the chamber like a quantum uncertainty. Alina Rodriguez remained perfectly still, a study of controlled potential. Her neural interface processed exponential volumes of data, analyzing the psychological landscape of the alien delegates with microscopic precision. Her preparation extended far beyond traditional diplomatic training. The neural implant at the base of her skull, a cutting-edge human technological marvel, interfaced directly with her cognitive processes. Developed through a collaboration between quantum neurologists and synapsepsychological researchers, the device allowed her to process complex interspecies communication patterns in real time. Background data scrolled through her consciousness. The Galactic Council represented 23 primary sentient species, each with evolutionary histories spanning millions of years. Humanity was the newest member, barely a century into interstellar exploration. Yet Alina saw this as an advantage, not a limitation. Each alien delegate carried generational memory, cultural baggage that limited their ability to think beyond established paradigms. The Zarkoth, with their crystalline biology, viewed change as a threat to structural integrity. The gas-based Nylura Consortium interpreted diplomatic interactions through complex molecular exchange patterns. The silicon-based Krelux understood negotiation as a form of structural reconfiguration. Humanity represented something entirely different, a species defined by its capacity for rapid adaptation, for finding solutions outside of predetermined frameworks. Alina's neural interface began constructing multidimensional communication models. She wasn't just listening to the words being spoken. She was analyzing the underlying communication structures. Quantum probability matrices mapped potential response pathways, each potential diplomatic approach analyzed for its long-term systemic impact. The chamber's ambient environment continued its subtle manipulation. Quantum resonance frequencies designed to induce psychological stress attempted to destabilize her cognitive processes. Alina's augmented neural pathways simply integrated the interference, transforming potential disruption into additional information streams. Her multicultural background played a critical role. Raised in a transnational research complex, Alina had been educated in a system that prioritized adaptive thinking over rigid knowledge retention. Her parents, a quantum physicist and an environmental engineer, had instilled a fundamental understanding of complex systemic interactions. The neural interface highlighted critical communication nodes. Each alien delegate represented not just an individual, but an entire evolutionary and cultural ecosystem. Their accusations were less about humanity and more about their own deeply ingrained fears of systemic disruption. A subtle smile touched Alina's lips, almost imperceptible, but loaded with strategic intention. The hearing was transforming from an accusation into an opportunity. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to reimagine fundamental assumptions about existence. The first speaker finished his accusatory presentation. Silence filled the chamber, a complex quantum state of anticipation and underlying tension. Alina Rodriguez understood that the most powerful responses often emerged from complete stillness. Her neural interface ran final calibration sequences, diplomatic protocols, cultural analysis, psychological projection models, all aligned into a singular, precise strategy. She was not just going to defend humanity. She was going to fundamentally transform the galactic understanding of what her species represented. The moment to speak was approaching. Every millisecond of preparation had led to this singular point of potential transformation. When Alina Rodriguez began her response, the entire chamber underwent a subtle quantum transformation. Her first words were not a defense, but a carefully constructed intellectual offensive that would fundamentally challenge everything the Galactic Council believed about humanity. Holographic displays materialized, crafted with surgical precision. Each projection represented a critical contribution humanity had made to galactic knowledge in an impossibly short time. Medical breakthroughs that had saved entire species flickered into existence. Revolutionary treatment protocols developed from human genetic research that had solved centuries-old physiological challenges. The first image showed a Nilara colony world. Decades earlier, the species had been facing systemic genetic degradation. A team of human xenobiologists had developed a quantum-level cellular reconstruction technique that had literally saved an entire civilization from extinction. The solution had come from an unexpected intersection of human genetic engineering and quantum molecular biology, an approach no other species had conceived. Another display revealed environmental restoration technologies. A desert world, once considered beyond recovery, now bloomed with engineered ecosystems. Human researchers had developed adaptive terraforming techniques that worked with planetary systems rather than attempting to dominate them. It was a fundamentally different approach to planetary management, one that respected ecological complexity. Alina's neural interface projected additional layers of contextual information. Each breakthrough was not just a technological achievement, but a demonstration of a unique human cognitive approach. Where other species saw limitations, humans saw opportunity for radical reimagination. Diplomatic records appeared next, conflicts that had persisted for millennia, resolved through human-developed communication protocols that emphasized collaborative problem-solving. The displays showed not military conquests, but intellectual breakthroughs that transformed fundamental understanding of interspecies interactions. The Zarkoth delegates shifted uncomfortably. Their crystalline structures refracted light in patterns of increasing agitation. The presentation was systematically dismantling their carefully constructed narrative of human unpredictability. Mathematical models began to overlay the historical data. Predictive algorithms demonstrated how human approaches to complex systemic challenges offered solutions to long-standing galactic problems. The models were not just theoretical. They represented tangible pathways to enhanced civilization-level cooperation. Alina's voice remained measured, each word precisely calibrated. Humanity does not seek to replace existing galactic structures. We offer a different perspective, one of adaptive potential and collaborative imagination. The chamber's quantum resonance began to shift. What had started as a hearing of condemnation was transforming into something entirely unexpected. The alien delegates found themselves confronting a perspective that challenged their most fundamental assumptions about technological and cultural development. Underlying every presentation was a profound message. Humanity represented not a threat, but a unique evolutionary approach to complex systemic challenges. Their apparent chaos was actually a sophisticated form of adaptive intelligence that could potentially revolutionize galactic civilization. The first speaker, Krellax, found his crystalline structure vibrating with an emotion remarkably close to uncertainty. The carefully constructed narrative of human threat was crumbling beneath the weight of empirical evidence and innovative potential. Elena Rodriguez had transformed the hearing from a potential condemnation into an intellectual revelation. The chamber's quantum resonance began to shift as Elena Rodriguez introduced the most strategic component of her presentation. Her neural interface projected a series of complex mathematical models that revealed the fundamental stagnation within galactic civilizations' existing structures. Holographic displays materialized, showing comparative development charts of various species, where most elder civilizations displayed nearly flat lines of technological and cultural advancement. Humanity's trajectory resembled an exponential curve, rapid, unpredictable, and fundamentally transformative. Stagnation is the true existential threat, Elena stated, her voice cutting through the chamber's charged atmosphere. Civilizations that cease to adapt become evolutionary relics. The mathematical models demonstrated a provocative hypothesis. Humanity's seemingly chaotic development was actually a sophisticated form of systemic adaptation. Where other species maintained rigid cultural and technological frameworks, humans continuously reimagined their approach to fundamental challenges. A representation of human technological development appeared, showing breakthrough after breakthrough. Each advancement was not a linear progression, but a series of radical reimaginings. Medical technology that transformed genetic understanding. Communication systems that redefined interspecies interaction. Environmental technologies that worked in harmony with planetary systems rather than attempting to dominate them. The Zarkoth delegates began to show signs of profound cognitive dissonance. Their crystalline structures vibrated with increasing complexity, reflecting internal psychological turbulence. The presentation was systematically dismantling their fundamental understanding of evolutionary development. Elena's neural interface tracked microshifts in the delegates' physiological responses. The quantum-level sensors detected increasing uncertainty, a state that was fundamentally destabilizing to species that valued predictability above all else. Underlying the presentation was a profound message. Humanity represented a new model of civilization development. Their approach was not about conquest or domination, but about continuous adaptation and collaborative problem-solving. Comparative studies appeared, showing how human approaches had indirectly solved multiple long-standing galactic challenges, a medical breakthrough that had saved the Nilera species, and communication protocol that had resolved millennia-old conflicts between the silicon-based Krellix and the energy-based Luminari. The most powerful demonstration was not technological, but philosophical. Humanity had developed a unique approach to complex systemic challenges, an ability to think beyond established paradigms, to see potential where others saw only limitations. Krellax, the primary speaker, found his traditional diplomatic responses becoming increasingly insufficient. The carefully constructed narrative of human threat was unraveling beneath the weight of empirical evidence and innovative potential. Elena's final visualization represented the most profound challenge. It was a dynamic model of potential future development, showing how humanity's adaptive approach could transform existing galactic structures. The model was not a static projection, but a living, breathing representation of potential evolutionary paths. "We are not seeking to replace existing systems," Elena stated, her voice carrying a tone of collaborative invitation. "We offer a different perspective, one of adaptive potential and collective imagination." The chamber fell into a profound silence. The quantum resonance had transformed from a state of accusation to one of profound uncertainty. Humanity was presenting itself not as a threat, but as a potential catalyst for galactic evolution. The psychological pivot was complete. What had begun as a hearing of condemnation was becoming something entirely unexpected. A potential reimagining of fundamental understanding about civilization, adaptation, and collective potential. Elena Rodriguez began the most critical phase of her presentation, a systematic deconstruction of the Galactic Council's fundamental power structures. Each word was a precisely calibrated intellectual instrument, designed to expose the deep-seated limitations of millennia-old bureaucratic systems. The holographic displays shifted, revealing the intricate web of galactic diplomatic and technological relationships. What appeared to be a complex network was actually a rigid, stratified system that had become increasingly ineffective over millions of years of incremental development. Stability is not the same as progress, Elena stated, her voice carrying a tone of academic precision. The most dangerous illusion is believing that current systems represent the pinnacle of potential. Detailed analyses appeared, showing how existing galactic protocols had actually impeded technological and cultural development. Resource allocation models demonstrated massive inefficiencies. Diplomatic communication channels revealed systemic blockages that prevented meaningful cross-species collaboration. The Krellix delegates, with their silicon-based cognitive structures, showed the first signs of profound cognitive discomfort. Their communication nodes began to pulse with increasing complexity, reflecting internal systemic challenges to their established understanding. Elena's presentation was not an attack, but a sophisticated intellectual dissection. She demonstrated how humanity's approach represented a fundamentally different model of systemic interaction. Where elder species saw rigid hierarchies, humans saw dynamic networks of potential collaboration. Comparative studies materialized, showing human-initiated problem-solving approaches that had indirectly resolved multiple long-standing galactic challenges. A communication protocol developed by a diverse human research team had unexpectedly solved a conflict between the energy-based luminary and the molecular-structured quantum collective. The most profound revelations concerned adaptive governance models. Humanity had developed political and organizational structures that could rapidly reconfigure in response to complex challenges. Traditional galactic species viewed governance as a static system. Humans saw it as a dynamic, continuously evolving process. Krellix and the other primary delegates found their traditional diplomatic responses becoming increasingly insufficient. The hearing was transforming from an accusation to a fundamental challenge of existing galactic paradigms. Quantum probability models demonstrated the potential of human-inspired systemic approaches. These were not theoretical projections, but empirical demonstrations of a fundamentally different approach to civilization-level challenges. We are not proposing replacement, Elena emphasized, but collaborative reimagination. The chamber's quantum resonance began to shift. What had started as a hearing of condemnation was becoming a profound exploration of potential evolutionary paths for galactic civilization. Underlying every presentation was a critical message. Humanity represented a new model of adaptive intelligence. Their apparent chaos was actually a sophisticated approach to complex systemic challenges, an ability to see potential where others saw only limitations. The silicon-based Krellix delegates began to show signs of profound recalibration. Their communication nodes pulsed with increasing complexity, reflecting internal systemic challenges to their established understanding. Elena's final visualization was the most provocative. It demonstrated how human-inspired approaches could transform existing galactic structures. The model was not static, but a living representation of potential evolutionary paths, dynamic, fluid, continuously adapting. The chamber fell into a profound silence. The quantum resonance had transformed from a state of accusation to one of fundamental uncertainty. Humanity was presenting itself not as a threat, but as a potential catalyst for reimagining galactic civilization's most fundamental assumptions. The Galactic Council chamber reached a critical inflection point. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez had transformed the hearing from a potential condemnation into an intellectual revelation that challenged fundamental assumptions about interstellar civilization. Krelax, the primary speaker, found his carefully constructed diplomatic stance crumbling. The quantum resonance of the chamber shifted, creating a complex field of potential that seemed to vibrate with unprecedented possibility. Where moments before the atmosphere had been charged with accusation, it now hummed with a profound sense of intellectual uncertainty. Elena's final proposal represented a revolutionary framework for interstellar cooperation. It was not a traditional diplomatic document, but a dynamic model of collaborative potential. The holographic displays surrounding her demonstrated a radical approach to governance, technological exchange, and cultural interaction. The mathematical models she presented were living systems, not static projections, but adaptive frameworks that could reconfigure in real time. Each visualization showed how human-inspired approaches could transform existing galactic structures. The models revealed pathways of collaboration that no previous civilization had conceived. Delegates from various species began to show signs of profound cognitive recalibration. The Nilara representatives, with their complex molecular communication systems, displayed increasing quantum fluctuations that suggested deep internal processing. The silicon-based Krelax communication nodes pulsed with intricate patterns of emerging understanding. Elena's presentation was a masterclass in diplomatic strategy. She was not seeking to replace existing systems, but to introduce a fundamentally different approach to civilization-level challenges. Each word was precisely calibrated, each visualization a carefully constructed intellectual instrument designed to reshape understanding. The most profound aspect of her proposal was its adaptive nature. Where traditional galactic diplomatic frameworks were rigid and hierarchical, her model proposed a dynamic network of collaborative potential. It recognized the unique strengths of each species while creating pathways for collective problem-solving. Quantum probability models demonstrated the potential of this approach. These were not theoretical projections, but empirical representations of a fundamentally different method of interstellar interaction. The models showed how diversity could become a source of strength rather than a potential source of conflict. Krelax found his traditional diplomatic responses becoming increasingly insufficient. The hearing had transformed from an accusation to a profound exploration of potential evolutionary paths for galactic civilization. The crystalline structure of his being began to resonate with a complex mixture of uncertainty and emerging potential. The chamber's quantum resonance reached a critical point. What had begun as a hearing of condemnation was becoming a moment of fundamental reimagination. Humanity was presenting itself not as a threat, but as a catalyst for transforming galactic understanding. Elena's final visualization was the most provocative yet. It demonstrated a living model of potential interstellar cooperation, a dynamic fluid system that could continuously adapt and reconfigure. The model was not a static projection, but a representation of collaborative potential. As the presentation reached its culmination, the entire chamber seemed to hold its collective breath. The rigid structures of galactic diplomacy were being challenged at their most fundamental level. Humanity was offering not just a new approach, but an entirely new way of conceptualizing civilization-level interaction. The moment of transformation was complete. What had begun as a hearing of condemnation had become a potential revolution in galactic understanding. The aftermath of the hearing reverberated through galactic diplomatic channels with unprecedented intensity. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez had done more than defend humanity. She had fundamentally transformed the existing understanding of interstellar potential. Diplomatic communication networks buzzed with analysis of the unprecedented presentation. The quantum-encrypted channels carried transmissions that dissected every moment of Elena's appearance before the Galactic Council. What had begun as a potential condemnation had become a watershed moment in galactic diplomatic history. The immediate consequences were complex and far-reaching. Humanity's status shifted from a species of concern to a critical catalyst for galactic development. The rigid hierarchical structures that had defined interstellar relations for millennia began to show signs of fundamental reconfiguration. Scientific research collaborations that had been impossible suddenly became not just feasible, but desirable. The Nilara molecular research teams began requesting joint projects with human xenobiologists. The Krelix computational networks showed increasing interest in human adaptive problem-solving approaches. Elena Rodriguez became more than a diplomat. She emerged as a symbol of a new approach to civilization-level challenges. Her presentation was analyzed in academic and diplomatic institutions across multiple star systems. The quantum probability models she had presented became standard reference materials for interdisciplinary research. The most profound transformation occurred in the philosophical understanding of interstellar potential. Humanity was no longer viewed as a young, unpredictable species, but as a unique evolutionary approach to complex systemic challenges. The apparent chaos of human development was reinterpreted as a sophisticated form of adaptive intelligence. Galactic Council protocols began to undergo significant modifications. The hearing had exposed deep-seated limitations in existing diplomatic frameworks. Human-inspired collaborative models started to replace traditional hierarchical structures. The rigid communication channels that had defined interstellar interactions for millennia began to give way to more dynamic, adaptive systems. Economic models underwent similar transformations. The human approach to resource allocation and technological development challenged fundamental assumptions about civilizational growth. Collaborative frameworks replaced competitive models, creating unprecedented opportunities for cross-species innovation. The long-term implications were profound. Humanity had introduced a fundamentally different approach to civilization-level challenges. Where previous species had seen limitations, humans saw potential for continuous reimagination. The galactic community found itself confronting a new paradigm of interstellar cooperation. Elena's personal impact extended beyond the immediate diplomatic realm. She became a pivotal figure in a broader transformation of galactic understanding. Academic institutions developed new disciplines inspired by her presentation. Diplomatic training programs began incorporating human-inspired adaptive thinking methodologies. The quantum resonance of galactic civilization began to shift. The hearing was retrospectively viewed as a critical moment of evolutionary potential. Humanity had challenged the most fundamental assumptions about interstellar development, offering a new perspective that valued adaptability, collaboration, and continuous reimagination. As stellar communications continued to analyze the unprecedented event, one thing became clear: the galaxy would never be the same. The rigid structures that had defined interstellar relations for millennia had been fundamentally challenged. Humanity had introduced a new approach to civilization-level challenges, one that valued potential over predictability, collaboration over competition. Ambassador Rodriguez had done more than defend her species. She had opened the door to an entirely new understanding of galactic potential.